Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of Joe Knows the 2021 NFL Draft Class. And today we are going to be covering the Cleveland Browns, the downtown Cleveland Browns, baby. Just give you a heads up, I'm a fan of the New York Giants, but I have three teams that are kind of like my backup teams. I'm not going to mislead you into saying that I'm fans of these teams, but when my team stinks, which they've been kind of stinky for quite a while, these are the other teams that I always check in on, and I try to develop a little bit of an emotional attachment with. One is the Miami Dolphins, who I already covered, and another one is the Raiders, who I will cover in the near future. And the third one is the Cleveland Browns. Why the Cleveland Browns? I grew up in the 1980s. I was not going to say I was a fan of the team then, but I appreciated them. I was a Bernie Kosar fan, who was their really good quarterback, if not slash great quarterback in the mid 1980s. That guy was a darn good quarterback who led that team to a lot of victories. I was always a big fan of Marty Schottenheimer. I was, who was the coach of the Browns in the 1980s. A lot of victories wherever that guy went. That guy won. Unfortunately, he never won a Super Bowl ring, as far as I remember, as a head coach. But that was one guy who deserved it because wherever he went, he developed a great culture, good teams, and I appreciated Marty Schottenheimer. Absolutely love that guy. The Cleveland Browns, I like their history. They're one of the original NFL teams. I love Jim Brown, everything he meant to the league back in the 1950s, everything he brought in terms of just combating racial injustices. All that means so much to me, and so another big reason why I'm a fan of the Browns. I also feel your pain too, because for a long time, for decades now, we all know the Cleveland Browns, not by me, because I don't dump on other people's teams. That's not how I roll. But we know that the Cleveland Browns, unfortunately, for decades have been pretty much a laughing stock, if you will, of the NFL by other fan bases for the past few decades, ever since the 1980s. And well, you know what? Not anymore, everyone. No one can stick the Cleveland Browns in the corner, baby. No one can do that anymore because they have entered the sustained success zone. And we're going to review their latest draft class, which is going to keep them in that sustained success zone right after we get through the bells and whistles real quick. Where you can find the show: Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, Facebook, where we have two pages. That's the Toilets and Titles page, and the other one is called When a Family Breaks, and that page is basically dedicated to memorabilia, sports memorabilia. But check it out, really cool. I like it a lot. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Help us out. All type of support helps generate more traffic for the show. We'd really appreciate it. We really rely on that, just like any podcast does. And then please, even if you're not watching it on Apple Podcasts, if you could take a minute to go and give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, it helps us a lot. Again, anything to generate buzz, it helps us out a lot. And that goes with any podcast. How you can further support the show, you can go to patreon.com/toilets to titles, and you can join us there. It helps us invest more money into the show to bring you more content, and better quality content too. More bells and whistles and more fun stuff behind the scenes that makes it look all better. So now on to our juicy content of the day. 8 picks, you guys. I'll tell you, the Cleveland Browns, for a long time, let's be honest, for decades, you could have given the Browns front office, regardless of the year, 12 picks in the first 3 or 4 rounds, and you knew they were going to blow it. You knew that they were going to blow it one way or another, and that's just the God's honest truth. Or even if they got a highly talented player, he would just not be good at all, or just be a bad influence on the team. Just nothing ever worked out. For quite a while now, for the past few years at least, you guys have been hitting it out of the park with your draft classes. They've been fantastic. Your front office is, I think, top notch now. You guys are making really good decisions. And again, that's what's helping you lead to a period of sustained success. I think you guys are going to be good for, probably at least the next 5 years. And it's hard to tell just with draft, with the draft, not with the draft, but with the salary cap. It's hard to tell, how long a team can stay good because you have to consistently restock your team with draft classes. And the Browns are doing it though. And I think you guys, again, you hit it out of the park with this draft class. I loved it. We're going to review those picks, but real quick, you had a total of 8 picks. It was pretty standard, 1 pick in the first round, 1 in the second round, et cetera, et cetera. There was no 7th round pick, which quite honestly really doesn't matter all that much, but he had 2 picks in the 4th round, 2 picks in the 5th round. I try to see if there's any type of theme with every draft class for every team. And this one, the theme was defense. And Cleveland, what I really like about your team is that you are absolutely developing one of the most balanced teams in all of the NFL. You have it going on offense with your young quarterback. You've got a running back tandem, the two-headed monster that's just ferocious. I mean, honestly, if Godzilla had 2 heads, it would be your running back tandem of Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Absolutely phenomenal. I love those guys. So deadly. And you have a good wide receiving core. And then on the flip side of the defense, so much good talent, so much good top tier talent to work with there. They're going to get better. I think the team knows that. That's why they invested so much in defense on this draft class. But I love the picks that you guys got. And, you know, you're building that defense up too. You guys are going to be such a well-balanced team. Absolutely love it. So some teams are just offensive heavy. Some teams are defensive heavy. The Browns, you're building up both sides of the ball. You can clearly see the talent on both sides of the ball, and I love it. Let's get into the picks now. Greg Newsome, cornerback, 1st round pick, the 26th pick overall out of Northwestern. This is a guy who is a very good cornerback. Obviously, he was drafted in the 1st round, but if you looked at, like, you know, if you read up on him before the draft, you know, he was coming after like the big 3 or 4 cornerbacks, and that would be off the top of my head, like J.C. Horn, Patrick Surtain, was it Caleb Farley or Fairley, who I think went to, where did he go? I forgot exactly where he went, but he went in the late 1st round too, I believe. And anyway, he was a stud, but a lot of injury concerns there. Newsome was right behind those guys. He went in a perfect spot. He deserved to go in the back end of the 1st round because he's a high quality talent cornerback. You got a good guy for your secondary. You need to strengthen that defense, and your front office is doing that. This was a good pick. I liked it a lot. It's kind of like not sexy. It's not a sexy name like a J.C. Horn or Patrick Surtain, but this is a good player. You're going to like him a lot. He is going to be your number 1 cornerback or your number 2 cornerback for a long period of time. You're going to roll this guy out, and you're not going to have to worry about much. So you're going to have him for a while. You're going to like him a lot. JOK. Oh my gosh, this is a guy, holy cow. He easily could have went, say, pick number 18 in the 1st round, and no one would have blinked an eye. As a matter of fact, the Redskins took a linebacker as well. A good one, I think one who actually fits their defense very well. Redskins could have went with this guy with JOK out of Notre Dame, linebacker out of Notre Dame. Wouldn't have blinked an eye at the 19th pick. This guy was 1st round talent, mid-1st round, at least mid-1st round talent. I wouldn't say really higher than that. I wouldn't say, you know, he could have won 10th or anything like that. But mid-1st round, you know, like 18, 19, 20 would have been great value for this guy too. And you got him in the 2nd round. I'm a Giants fan. We took Azeez Ojulari in the 2nd round, and I'm happy with the pick. Don't get me wrong. I love the pick. If we had taken JOK, I would have loved that pick too. This guy does it all as a linebacker. You're solidifying that defense. You got a real stud. You got 1st round, legitimate 1st round talent in the 2nd round. I love what you did. Cleveland Browns hitting it out of the park. Your front office is doing really well. No joke anymore. Anthony Schwartz, wide receiver. This is one of the, if not the deepest wide receiving class I can ever remember. It was even deeper than the previous years, than last season's draft class. This was an incredibly deep wide receiving class. Anthony Schwartz, if you look past the top names, like the Jalen Waddles, like the Jamar Chases, like the Devontae Smiths, like the Rashad Batemans, Anthony Schwartz was behind those guys in other draft classes. He probably could have been a mid-2nd round pick. You got him at the back end of the 3rd round. This guy has a lot of talent out of Auburn. Auburn produces pretty good wide receivers. My team's got Darius Slayton, who did great in his rookie year. Took a step backwards in his 2nd year. He was from Auburn as well. I think that had more to do that the Giants were treating him as like a number 1 wide receiver. That's excuse me, that's not really his ceiling. His ceiling is really a good quality number 2. But opposing defenses last year were putting their number 1 cornerback on him, pretty much, you know, taking him out of the equation for the most part. I think we have an idea of what Slayton's ceiling is. Anthony Schwartz, I don't think this guy's ever going to be a number 1. Excuse me. But he's going to be a solid number 2. You've got really great value here in the 3rd round. You really added to your you know, fairly young, well, they're still young, like OBJ and Landry. You add it to your wide receiving core, but they're not really young, but they're not old. They're definitely established veterans. You really added to your wide receiving core here with Anthony Schwartz. That was a good pick, guys. This is a guy who late in the draft process, like leading up to the draft, that was getting more and more buzz, and deservedly so. And I didn't know much about him up until say around like March, when I was focusing on him a little more, and that's when he started seemed to be getting more and more buzz, and deservedly so. This guy is a keeper. Congratulations on your third-round pick. I liked it a lot. Moving on to James Hudson, offensive tackle, Cincinnati Bearcats, 5th pick in the 4th round. This is another good value pick, guys. Another good value pick. This is a guy who can play, who would probably, if he becomes a starter and he can develop into a starter, will probably be a right tackle. He can play some left tackle. And again, like most tackles coming out of college, they're kind of projected maybe swing into guard. This guy, I think, can wind up being a right tackle if he's starting right tackle. And if not, he could possibly be a guard, or at the very worst, I think he's going to be good quality depth. You got a good guy here out of James Hudson. So again, even not everyone can wind up being a starter, but when you get to the 4th round, you're looking for traits and guys who could possibly become starters, at least guys that, if not Pro Bowl caliber, of course, at least that you can roll out there and not have to worry about, in a sense that, hey, we can roll Hudson out. Might not be the best, but you can do a heck of a lot worse. I think that's what James Hudson's ceiling is, and I think that's a good ceiling, especially for the 4th round, because you got to roll 5 guys out every offensive play, and it's not easy to get great players in every position on every down and every play. You can roll this guy out, and I think he could be a solid player for you. Now, if he doesn't develop into being a starter, he could be good quality depth for you. Tommy Togiai, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correct. Honestly, I've never heard his name pronounced, but I'm very familiar with the player. I've read up a lot on him. Your 2nd pick in the 4th round, pick number 27 in that round. This guy is a good defensive tackle prospect. I thought 4th round was good. I think he could have went easily in the 3rd round. This wasn't actually a very good defensive tackle class. Once you got past Barmore, who I think was by far, who went to New England, I think he was by far the best defensive tackle in the draft. But Tommy Togiai, I believe is how it's pronounced, is a good defensive tackle. And this guy's, he's a run stuffer, can penetrate a little bit, but really run stuffing is his business. And I think you got good value in the 4th round. So I think there's a lot to be excited there. So even if this guy doesn't want to be a starter, and I think he can develop into that. Even if he doesn't, he's, I think, a good depth piece. But I think he will eventually be a starter, not this year, possibly next year. I think he will start, and I think you're going to be pretty impressed. And nothing flashy, but I think he's going to help you clog up the middle, and I think you're going to be pretty happy with this guy. Tony Fields is a guy that I had, or I should say Tony Fields II is a guy that I had my eye on for 4th, 5th round picks. And he was a linebacker out of West Virginia. He's a guy that can actually do it all. He's a good athlete. He can do it all. You got him at the 9th pick out of the 5th round, in the 5th round, I should say. And this is one of those guys where the linebacking class in 2021 I thought was interesting. There was a lot of players to be excited about. And I think there was a lot of good value in the mid-round picks, the 4th round pick, I should say the 4th round, the 5th round, like you got here with Tony Fields. I don't know if he's ever going to develop into a stud like JOK. I'm not going to go that far like JOK will be. I'd be shocked if JOK was not, an incredible presence in your defense for like the next 12 to 15 years. I think he's going to be that good, JOK. Tony Fields can wind up developing into a quality starter, or I think at best he can be a good quality piece that you can roll out and just, a name that you'll be familiar with, that you'll grow to like a lot, and just someone you can, if someone gets injured in the linebacking core, Tony Fields can step in and you're not going to miss too much of a beat. I think he's got a pretty good ceiling that way. And I thought 5th round, man, I thought that was a good pick. If the Giants took him in the 5th round, I would have been happy with the pick. He's someone I liked a lot. And I'll tell you another theme I noticed, that they've taken a lot of guys this year, the Cleveland Browns, who are, 2nd and 3rd generation names here. You got Greg Newsome II, you've got Tony Fields II, and then you've got Richard LeCounte III, safety out of Georgia. This guy, 5th round, 25th pick in the 5th round, Georgia. Georgia knows how to develop defensive players. Kirby Smart runs a great program down there, and they always develop really good defensive players under his watch. And Richard LeCounte is, I thought that was good value in the 5th round. He's a smaller guy, but this is a willing guy too. He's safeties. That's his knock, is that he's smaller. The thing is that this guy, he plays hard. Like, he comes down, he tries to be a thumper, and he is. But that could also be, in the NFL, that could be a detriment too, because, unless you're a big bodied, stocky guy, and if you're a stocky thumper and you're coming down and, hitting your wide receivers and hitting in those running backs, unless you're a big guy, it tends to lead itself to injury. But this guy, I don't think he's ever going to be a starter, but I think he's going to give you great quality depth. And I think you're going to wind up liking this guy. He's going to give you great quality depth. I really believe that. He's, like I said, maybe you're on the small side, but they can roll you out once in a while in certain packages. And there's Mrs. Joe Knows coming home with the dog from the long dog walk. So, like I said, this is reality TV. We don't stop recording. We just keep going. So I'm going to get through this as quick as I can. You got a good safety here. It's going to be good value. This guy is willing. He's going to be, you're going to love him. You're going to love his willingness. He can play a decent amount of interceptions in his Georgia career. And at Georgia, he started as a true freshman. And starting on Georgia's defense as a true freshman is pretty darn impressive. So good luck with, you're going to like this guy. Demetric Felton, your last pick, 6th round, 27th pick in the 6th round. How he lasted this long, I don't know. I like this guy a lot. Don't get me wrong. He wasn't the best running back prospect coming out of college, but he was pretty decent for UCLA. He was good. He was good. But at the Senior Bowl, not necessarily in the Senior Bowl game, but all the practices at the Senior Bowl, Demetric Felton was getting as much buzz as everyone. Why? Because they're actually deploying him as a wide receiver. And from everything I read, no one was able to cover the guy as a wide receiver. So this guy's going to wind up being a really good utility weapon for you. I think you're going to love this guy. I'm not saying he's going to be a #1 running back. I'm not saying he's going to be a #1 wide receiver, but I think he's going to be a trick play type of guy, and someone you could just, I think your creative offensive coordinator and head coach are you're going to weave this guy into the fabric of your game plan. And I think Browns fans are going to be really happy with this guy. Demetric Felton, I had my eye on this guy. Another guy I would have been happy if the Giants picked in the later rounds. I'm actually surprised he fell to the 6th. But like I said, he wasn't exactly a top running back prospect coming out, but he's someone who had good tangible traits. And at the Senior Bowl, at least in the practices, I should say, there was a lot of buzz this guy about no one really be able to cover him when he was deployed as a wide receiver. So that is the content of the show. Again, I'm just going to wrap it up here real quick. Here are the Twitter handles for all of the guys here at Toilets and Titles. Follow all of them. They're all great. We love them all. And also, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, hit the bell, and give us that 5-star Apple review for a shot at a free entry to our Frankenstein League, which is a fantasy draft league that we've started for you, the listeners. We participate with you guys. It's a lot of fun. We play with some different rules. We actually, one of our rules is that if your team loses, another team, the team that beat you, can actually steal a player from you. So it adds a different element. Yes, we are a pro thievery podcast. We're a pro thievery draft league with Frankenstein. So we're pro thievery. Anyway, guys, I'm wrapping it up here. I got a busy day ahead of me. I had to rush it a little bit. Just want to know I love you all. Cleveland, you hit it out of the park again. You got so much to look forward to. Peace. Love you all. I'll see you soon with another video.